That's so funny. So talking about let's move on to you were talking about your animated stuff. What was it like working on the different Lego stuff you did?
It was, I mean, Lego DC Superhero Girls Brain Drain was the first like movie I was able to do. And it was because Jim called me up. Jim Krieg, who's I've co-written a bunch of stuff with him, producer and a collaborator, a mentor of mine. And he called me up and he said, "Hey, I need you to do this movie." And I was like, "Oh." And he goes, because there's only one person I know that can write this fast, which is you. So you got to do it really quick. I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I did this movie. And first of all, the Lego DC Superhero Girls, having girls, this is like one of those things that I didn't realize when I found out we were having the first girl that I was having. I was like, it was a friend of mine who was like, you can play lightsabers and Star Wars and superheroes with your girls, right? And I was like, what? Are you serious? And then it was like, now I'm writing the stuff that they can play, So I met the Lego people and they really liked what I was doing. And so they gave me a second one. And then I moved over and I started doing, I co-wrote Lego Flash with Jim. And then I did Lego Shazam and Lego Aquaman and another Lego Bat family adventure or whatever. And they're really, really fun. They're younger, they're skewed a little younger, but they're super, super fun, really great jokes. And they actually have hilarious takes on DC stuff. Like the last Batman one I did was with we redid the Jason Todd, the origin of Jason Todd. And it's really about him. He's at the Bat computer playing on the Bat computer. And Batman's like, "The Penguin's downtown. You need to come help me." And he's like, "Yeah, you can handle it." Like he won't get off the video game. And then finally Batman pulls the plug after like multiple times. And Jason's like, "You don't care about me. I'm leaving. Okay, I'm going. All right, don't stop me. I'm out the door." And it was that sort of thing. So that was really fun. But that relationship with Lego, I went on and did Lego Jurassic World stuff. And then they asked me to go to China and help with a show called Monkie Kid, which they showed me the action figures. And, I wrote and produced almost all of them. Season 2, I got to have a team of writers, which was really cool. And it's a really great show. So Lego and I had a great working relationship, and the people over there were just fantastic. And plus, it's Lego. Like,
right?
I went to my kids' school to do almost like a career day type thing, and I'm like, "Hey, I write comics, but have you seen any of these movies?" And I'm pulling out these Lego movies, and these kids' eyes are like super big, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, I've seen that 50 times." I'm like, and you realize it's like you don't hear a lot about those Lego things because these kids aren't on Twitter, thank goodness. They don't talk about it. And it's like, but they've all seen it like 100 times each. And I'm like, oh, okay, great. That was neat. So Lego was great.
So you were the cool dad at career day.
Yeah, totally.
That's so funny. What about working on the Mortal Kombat ones? How was that?
So I have a problem, which is I love martial arts a lot, and I love DC martial arts a lot. All the characters in DC. But I talk about karate and martial arts and action movies way too much, to the point of, "We're going to this meeting. Please don't talk about martial arts." Oh no, I promise I won't. So anyway, Cynthia Rothrock, immediately I'm talking about martial arts. So when it came up that they needed somebody to write these Mortal Kombat movies, everybody was like, "Well, Jeremy talks about karate all the time. I guess he has to do it, And so they called me up and they say, "Hey, would you want to do this?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding me? Of course I want to do it." And I've worked with Rick Morales, who is the executive producer. And in animation, the executive producer is kind of more of the director. He oversees everything. And so Rick and I have worked on, I think, 10 movies by now. And so we got together and really talked about, we wanted to make a midnight movie, a midnight horror movie that's just crazy violent. And the first movie, my script turned in, they said, "This is too vulgar and this is too violent." And I was like,
wow.
"What?" I go, "Have you seen your product? Because your product is really vulgar and violent." So on a scale of 1 to 10, I pulled it down to like an 8. and then I hand it off because one of the things about an animation writer is you're a collaborator. You're building the blueprint and you're handing it off to people. So they went to Ethan, who's the director, and he heads up all the storyboard guys. And like a couple months later, they're like, "Hey, Jeremy, you gotta come look at this storyboard scene." I go, "Okay," and they turn it on, and I just start screaming because it is like 1,000% more violent than even what I put in there. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is so violent." And anyways, so it was really cool. And the only sadness to me is that it came out right when the pandemic happened. It was hugely successful, but I really wanted to see it in like, with
A theater.
a convention crowd or a
Yeah.
theater, like at midnight. So that first reaction of the first X-ray punch or the spear going through a head, I wanted to hear people like, "Oh my goodness," and then the second one, it's equally violent, but our goal was just to try to expand, like let people know it's not just a fighting tournament. There's all this mythology and all this stuff going around. So it was, I love those movies. I love fighting stuff. So
I love it too. Like the first one stayed so close to the lore, and it felt like the second one went a little crazy. And I
yeah,
think that was what's so good about it. But you mentioned the pandemic
yeah,
that it hit at that time. I think that was actually kind of nice. Like in a
yeah,
crazy world, everything going on, that was there. You know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
yeah.
that
No,
was there to
totally,
watch, and
totally.
when people are worried and freaking out, it was a nice little escapism for
Yeah,
people.
yeah, totally. Yeah, and
Um,
then yeah, go ahead.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no, no. Yeah, the second one, it's like it's weird though. If you dig into Mortal Kombat lore, it's like it's bananas, man. It has like 11 games of Elder Gods and Komidagus, and it's intense. Like you could have we really only thought we were getting two movies, and I mean that's what they told us. It's like two, but you need to put as much as you can in it. It's like, okay, we'll do our best. So it was crazy. I mean, the second one especially, there was a lot cut out just for time.
It was awesome. Like it was I love the Mortal Kombat lore. I played the game since
Yeah.
3, I think, when I was a
Yeah.
kid.
Yeah.
And it's like something the first one, felt very familiar, and the second one I'm just like, okay, jaw drop. Like I
Yeah.
love it. And I'm not surprised you say you like the martial arts.
Yeah.
And you did Soul of the Dragon, right?
Yep. Yep. That was
Oh,
close.
it's
That
so good.
was
Like bringing in Richard Drag. Oh my
oh,
gosh.
I'm a
Love
big
those characters.
I love those characters too. I really did. Chuck Dixon did this run of Richard Dragon with Scott McDaniels. It's one of my favorite little mini series that happened, and yeah, that happened because again, I think I had been pitching Batman Enter the Dragon like any chance I get, and then Bruce Tim had pitched it separately from me. Like he didn't know that I was into that, and when he pitched it, everybody's like, "Oh, you gotta meet with Jeremy," and then I hadn't worked with them professionally, like I'd seen him around, but I hadn't really interacted with him. And then we really hit it off, and we nerded out about martial arts stuff. And I'm a huge martial art nerd. There's a lot of stuff with Bruce and O Sensei hitting the rock that comes straight from like the martial art I have a black belt in, which is Hapkido, and all that kind of philosophy of martial arts. That's what makes a good martial art movie. But the fact that it takes place in the 70s, and there's a good Waka Chicka Waka, and Kelly Hu and Michael Jai White and Mark Dacascos. I mean, I'm such a fan of theirs in the martial art movie world. It was great. I mean, it was such a fun movie. It's one of my favorite things I've ever been a part of.
Was it hard to get that like 70s aesthetic?
Uh, it, it, I would say it was, except that Bruce knew exactly what he wanted. So if I wrote like slang that was beyond 1974, he'd be like, "Nope, that's 1970."
Perfect.
If I put like, "I want to put this disco scene," he goes, "Nope, disco didn't come till 70, blah, blah, blah." And I'm like,
Oh
"Oh,
my
okay." So he policed it, and he knew everything. And because that was his era. And he policed the fashion and the cars and all that stuff. He was no joke about it.
And it seems so authentic. Like there's nothing about that doesn't. That's one of my favorite new animated movies. Because they changed since a little bit since the Justice League Dark.
Right.
And that one felt like, the others are adapting Long Halloween or adapting this, and that one felt, more organic and more new, a different story to tell. And it was really quite refreshing.
Yeah, I mean, I would do an adaptation if they asked me, but being able to do like an Elseworlds original tale, that I like that. I want to do that,
I love Elseworld story. You can just go a little crazy.
Yeah. I mean, the JSA that I co-wrote with Megan, that too was like, it took strands from like, the Flash of Two Worlds and stuff, but it really was its own movie. It wasn't really dependent upon a book or whatever. So there's a lot of freedom in that as a writer versus an adaptation, which comes with its own challenges. Like Tim did an incredible job with Long Halloween 1 and 2.
Oh yeah.
But like, that's a hard thing to do because people don't know. Like, I remember when
I can't hear you.
When Killing Joke came out and people were really upset. I have nothing to do with Killing Joke, so I don't
know. That was
But what I remember is that the book is really, you don't realize it when you read it, but it's short. It's shorter than what you think it is. So if you're trying to do a 75-minute movie, same with Gotham by Gaslight or whatever, you got to pad it, or they've got to pad it with story. Now so I don't want to do that because the adaptation thing seems hard. It seems like a lose-lose situation, right? Like, even if it's good, people will be like, it's good, but it's not like the comic. Yeah. And you're like, yeah, but like, they can't even afford to do the art like the comic. It's not like Pixar money. Like, people are throwing, it's a little lower budget though.
Everybody has that nostalgia factor. Even when I watch Long Halloween, I'm like, this is really good. I want Tim Sale's art. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. But the funny thing is, because of the way they work, and one of the miracles of Warner Brothers Animation is they put out tons of content, and they do it at such a price that if you saw how much it cost and what they were able to do, it's a miracle. And so the fact that they can, and you saw it with the Tuckerverse, the James Tucker stuff, it's like they had those models for the characters, so they didn't have to pay to get those models again. So it saves them money in the different.
Oh yeah.
So I don't know. So a lot of times, what's cool about that is it makes you rely on some really good writing, and it makes you rely on some really good tricks and stuff. So it's all good. I mean, I'm thrilled that I got to be a part of it.
And you were a part of Young Justice also, correct?
Yeah. So Jim and I, we co-wrote the last episode of season 3. But you know what? As much as my name is on that, it's like Brandon Vietti and Greg Weisman, it is their baby, like beyond comprehension. Like, before we could even write a line, Greg had me go back, and I had already seen season 1 and 2, but like, I needed to see the cutscenes in the video game, and I needed to see the comic adaptations, and I needed to see, like, here's the Bible, here's this, and they have such a specific vision of that world that at the end of the day, it is their show, and it's so good. Like, I sit there and I go, man, if they would just take those scripts and do live action, it would be the greatest superhero thing you've ever seen.
Yeah. Brandon Vietti does a good job on anything.
Yeah. He's amazing.
His name is like, take my money. Like, he does an awesome job. I really like him.
His Choose Your Own Adventure DVD thing. It was really cool.
With Death in the Family?
Yeah. It was like
so good.
Yeah. And so he had Jim and I come in before, and he's like, okay, you got to play through this thing. And what was funny about it was every choice somehow made it worse, And I was like,
oh my gosh,
Brandon, this is so violent, and he was just smiling over there like, hey, and he's so honest. He's such a sweet guy. You're like, oh my gosh, I thought I was saving the kid instead. He's doing this or this. It was great. He's such a good guy. He the first thing that I worked on. Oh, sorry.
You're totally fine.
The first thing that I worked on with him was Lego Flash, actually, and that he was the one who produced that, and Jim and I would come in and we would try to just make him laugh and we had this great scene they had to take out where we were going to have the Mall of Justice. The Justice League had to quit their job because Reverse Flash was so good, and so they decided to turn the Hall of Justice into the Mall of Justice. That's where they served like hot dogs, and Batman served a nutrition shake that this kid drinks, and it's like, you know, and
gosh, I love it.
It's not supposed to taste good. It has everything your body needs, you know, like it was really funny.
Oh, that's awesome. I love it so much. But you've worked on so much DC. Like
Yeah.
DC is what I love too. It's my favorite out of everything. But if you could work on Marvel, what would you pick?
Yeah. If I could do Marvel, I mean, like, that is tough.
There's so many good characters.
Yeah, and it's hard too because you're also like, there's also this element of like, I don't know if you're reading Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil.
Oh yes,
but it's like, oh, I'd love to do Daredevil, but I'm also like, I don't ever want to follow that, and I don't want to follow, you know, like I love Daredevil. I love that Daredevil. I love Thor. I love Captain America. Mark Grunwald did a run of Captain America that I really, really love.
Yeah.
But if I was able to, like they said, Jeremy, would you like to do something for Marvel? I would love to do something like a reboot of New Warriors, like it was the original stuff that Fabian Nicieza did. That was so cool. I would love to do Captain America. I mean, who am I kidding? Yeah, I would want to do that.
Yeah. I the New Warriors, I think they were going to reboot that, and then that kind of like, they're like, please forget about this. Please.
Yeah, well, they had done, there was this really great run originally with Night Thrasher and Nova and Speedball, and then they did a version where basically I think it was Speedball. They basically, it was like the New Warriors, except they had a reality television crew that was following them around, and they ended up fighting this villain that blew up. It killed a bunch of people, and then Speedball became this like, you know, he was called Penance, and he had spikes, and it was like really like emo 90s, you know. And I was like, you know, as a fan of New Warriors, like, I was all bitter about it. Like, dear Marvel, I do not like what you have done with the New Warriors, you know. So I would, if I took it over, it'd be like, nope, we're gonna have fun again. You know, that's kind of my modus operandi, is let's have fun, let's have some crazy fun stuff. And with DC, I just hope they give me more opportunities. I have a lot of big ideas for different books that it would be cool to be able to take part in.
Well, I love that you said about fun, because a lot of your Flash stuff is fun, but the thing is, not, you know, comics aged up with their audience, right?
Yeah.
But the Flash, it would be no issue with a kid reading that, or an adult. It is literally an all ages book that, like you said, you can read with your daughter. You know, it is something that it's not, you don't see that in Batman. And I really, really like that.
Yeah, that's something that I'm not going to change either. I want it to be something that, you know, because I'm a parent, and I went to the store and I bought a bunch of comics that I thought would be okay to give to the kids in my daughter's class. And then I went home and I started looking at them like, I can't give these to the kids. And sometimes it wasn't even about the content of the comic books. Sometimes it was an advertisement for, you know, Wolverine with like blood dripping off his claws.
Right.
Like, yeah, I could totally see a third grade mom calling the school being like, this was given to, you know, so I'm not saying, I mean, heck, when I was a kid, I remember a lot of the books I'd read, it would be like, learn witchcraft now. You know, it was like all these weird, you know, advertisements, but it was a little more, you get away. It was a little more safe. Like, it wasn't as violent or whatever. And so the Flash for me is something that is going to be, anybody can read it at any age can read it. There will be moments of drama, and there will be moments of action and tension and stuff like that. But it's never going to get so hard that you're going to be, you know, you'll get in trouble for reading, you know. And I just think it's different than what's going on with a lot of other books. It's not mean it's better. I just think that, hey, here's another thing that you could buy that it's different. I'm just I'm just doing something a little different so everybody can enjoy it.
Exactly. And it works out really well. Like, even this last issue where, you know, everyone was super grumpy.
Yeah.
It didn't mean they were mean. They were just grumpy, you know, Mr.
Right.
Terrific and the boys just a little mad.
Yeah. And then it's like all these kind of like villains and former villains are drawn toward the glaive, and it's like, oh, there's action and excitement, and that was a big part of why I read comics too. It's like, ooh, what's going to happen next? Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. And then, you know, and then he gets yanked into a dimension with Dr. Fate, and now, you know, it's like, okay, well, what's that about? You know, and it's all connected. So.
And I love it. And you know, they will have to go out to purchase it to see what happens with Dr. Fate. So my last question I have for you, again, I ask everyone, what is your favorite character to read?
Ooh, to read.
The hard question. There's so many good ones.
That is tough. Oh, that's so tough. Okay, I don't know. See, I really like Daredevil to read. I think weirdly, because Daredevil seems like something that would only have limited stories, but like Frank Miller's Daredevil, Chip Zdarsky's Daredevil, Kevin Smith's Daredevil, they keep doing this thing that I'm obviously, it's compelling to me. But if it has J.M. DeMatteis and Keith Giffen and Kevin McGuire on it, that's what I love reading. Like, it's the Justice League International, it's Blue Beetle and Booster Gold, you know, Guy Gardner. It's that run that's just so silly and fun to me. Those are really fun to me. Oh, this is tough. And like Gail Simone, when she took over, I love Chuck Dixon. Like, I'm the biggest Chuck Dixon fan of comics when he was doing the Bat stuff. And then Gail Simone took over, and hers is Birds of Prey. That
so good.
So good. And then of course her Secret Six is so good. So I don't know.
Girl. I know there's so many. There's so many to choose from. And even current, like like with the Justice League Infinity with JM.
Yeah.
It's just like there's so much good stuff out there. Like I said earlier, it's a good time to be a comic fan. Like, it really is.
Yeah. And JM, like I've had the privilege of meeting him a couple times. The nicest human being on earth, has been doing this for an incredibly long time. So he has the right to be almost arrogant, but he's so and he's so passionate, and he's still making incredible stories. I'm like, man, I want to be like that dude, you know?
Yep. Yeah. And you know, I noticed after doing a couple of these Ask the Experts, a lot of people within the industry are still so humble, still so nice. And it's pretty amazing that, you know, compared to other industries, you don't get that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, everybody I've met has been incredibly nice and welcoming. And, you know, again, I'm on year one. This is Jeremy year one. You know, so I'm still learning, but everybody's been really kind, and I've been able to reach out to different people, and they've given me advice. You know, Joshua Williamson and Tom Taylor and different people have given me some really great, you know, tips and stuff that I'll always be grateful that they've been so kind to me.
Awesome. Well, I so appreciate your time. You did amazing. And everybody, when you are listening to this, you have to check out The Flash. It is quite possibly, between that and Swamp Thing, one of the best ongoing at DC right now. It's so good. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
I absolutely, you know, besides Flash, do you have anything upcoming that you want to plug, or is that the main right now? Okay.
6. Go call your comic book store. Order 12.
Pre-order it. That's right. Order 12. That's right. All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.